Just started our live. Let's see how that works. Our live. See, we're back in the pocket, the teams together again, which is nice to sit down with you on a Sunday, right?
It
Give
it is it is nice to sit down on a Sunday. I'm trying to remember last Sunday, which is
Mhm.
do I remember last Sunday?
Gosh, could it's last did you was that the Sunday where you had the 20 minutes? Hey everybody, come on
Oh,
in.
it
Hey,
was that
Laura's
Sunday.
here. Yeah, Dr. Beep Bop. I like that. I don't
I
know who
like
that
that too.
is. Good. Welcome, Jean. Welcome, Laura. Yeah, so I know I've missed the last couple Sundays, and that was that was where I totally had the storm. I was at the beach. Hello, everybody. Great to be here again. I've been out of the pocket. Alpha. Oh, Alpha's here. Alpha, great show last Thursday with Fennell. We were just talking about last Sunday. I went to the Outer Banks, we had some really weird weather, and of course, it chased me all the way home today. I just got home, and but glad to see people in the room. But
I
it's great to
see
be back.
It's great to be back. I see that Miss Peggy is here, and I'm sure that she was at the big rally on Saturday that was at the Red Barn, but I couldn't be there because it was my family reunion.
I know. I want to talk about that as people roll in, and um, because as we were driving home, and like I said, it's great to see you. And we were talking about what we both did and try to catch up on life and pay attention. We're talking about Trump, the correspondence dinner. Anybody watch it? We are talking about we didn't watch it. We didn't but we are interested in kind of the media and some things around it. So we talked about different things. And I asked you about your week with your family. So I love for you to talk about it because I think it's so interesting. Um, when you told me over 100 people were at this event.
Yeah, it was actually closer to 130 on and
What?
off throughout the weekend. Yeah, so, I am so happy again to be sitting down with you on a Sunday sit down with Network
Yes.
Nova's Friday Power Lunch because we
Yeah.
have some new folks on that I haven't seen
Great.
before. And I was telling you that this week was my family reunion, and we were the host city, if you wanna consider Exmoor city, because people know that I live in a very, very rural space, and so Exmoor is teeny, teeny, tiny, but we had my family here from all over. The furthest came from California. And so it was somewhere around 130 people. We had a meet and greet on Friday evening. On Saturday, we had a picnic. And then on Saturday night, we had our big dinner. And yes, family reunions have declined by like 47%. And that's because when the elders sort of die off, the younger people don't
Yeah.
always pick up. And so that didn't happen to our family. We have them every 2 years. And it was a pretty big event. And I was surprised at the number of people who showed up who decided that they were gonna make the trip no matter how far to come t and talk about our family.
Right.
And so, I think I told people, last week or the week before, the our family starts with, Eli White, Eli White and Cora Robeson, who got married in 1904.
That's
And the
interesting.
reason that that's so significant is because I went back to look at what was life like when Cora and Eli got married in 1904. She was 22 and he was 38, so he was older than
Yeah, it
her.
was older.
Yeah, and they had, like, 9 kids, which is where
Wow.
my grandfather was one of those kids. And, but when you go back to look at what it was like in 1904 when they got married, get ready to start this life together, they couldn't even vote
Wow.
because
Right.
Jim Crow had taken hold, so everything that had once started to turn around and be reshaped was gone. So they couldn't vote. It was very, very segregated. You couldn't even look a white person in the eye without there being some kind of retribution, and when things happened, you really had nowhere to go. But nonetheless, they still were able to
Right.
scrape by and to make it with all of those children. And that is where we come from, and we talk about how strong that is, but we also talked about in this family reunion, we brought everybody up so that they could see from generation to generation. We actually stopped the music and all that stuff to say, "This is an important conversation for us to have." So we spent
Wow.
almost an hour talking about the generation from Cora, from Eli, who was next and who was next, and to get us all on the stage to understand so that the young folks understood where they came
Wow.
from and how difficult it was from where they came. And then we talked about the fact that if you take a look at what's happening in around this country today, Tennessee,
Yes.
Louisiana, Mississippi, in terms of taking away voting power, it looks exactly that way now. And so some of the tools are different, but it is the
Right.
same in terms of feeling like you have no power. And that's why this election is so important. So we had those conversations multiple times with our family, with our young folks to understand what Cora and Eli went through and what we need to do right now in order for that not to happen to the degree that it happened to them. So
Right.
that was our family reunion.
No, I really was thinking about that on the way home. We talked about it. One, I was like, "Hey," I had to we both sort of chuckled when when I said, "Hey, we have the same last name." You're like, "Well, maybe you were, the white family had some kind of slave ownership." But I know that one thing with it's true, and that's the history, right? With our names and the names that were given and the people that were owned, it definitely is one. It has to be discussed about, when you try to find your identity and your history. It's really important to understand that even if you're like, well, I don't think my family owned slaves, it's just the way it was because people did. Miss Margaret on our show talks about that, how to trace the history. So it's important. And what made me really think about this is two things I want to talk about. The preservation of stories and why family history and getting together is so important. In the day and age of what we're facing, I think that's actually a cool thing that we do return to the old way of how we do share information, especially when this government is trying to alter it. So when you have enough people understanding it, it's really hard for people to interfere with that history when people know
That's
the
right.
facts. So I'm interested in that, that intergenerational storytelling and how important it is when we talk about regular people, what we can do, right? Simple storytelling, talking to your family, getting people together, talking to the young folk, making sure they understand. And I think that kind of carries on, right? And then what we see today happening all the way up. I was listening to Al Sharpton was on tonight, and it was about the Smithsonian and the rewriting of history and their erasure. And I didn't realize they were putting signs outside the museum where the national parks can actually have authority in front of the 8 or 9 Smithsonian museums, that history they're saying may not be correct. Did you know this? This was crazy. Anybody hear this? So Trump is all on a thing about changing history, and he wants a government controlled history. So he's accusing the American Museum of History of being anti-American and too focused on oppression. So when you think about 1904, when black people can look white people in the eye, right? We don't want to talk about that. And then there's the secretary of the Smithsonian, Lonnie Bunch. He's the institution's first black leader. We got to pay attention to this. And what we're not paying attention to right now is what's happening to Black history. Even a year ago with Polly Murray's uh, history or her museum, them taking out all the references to what happened to women, lesbian, queer. So we are seeing the erasure. So I think this is important for us to talk about.
Yeah, I think it is. One of the things, it feels like so much that some days you feel like, where do I even start? But
Yes,
that is the point. That is the point. And we can't cover everything.
right.
And I do believe that there is this sort of divide and conquer where, everybody takes a piece of something so that they can, grab a hold on it and inform as much as they can. That's what we have to do with history. Everybody has a responsibility. Um, and it is through storytelling. It is through grabbing
Yes,
people's attention for just a minute. We were talking about the attention deficit and that there is so much happening
right,
that it's hard for people to pay attention, to just pause for a minute and pay attention. But you do have to recognize that you can't cover everything. And that was a realization for me, that I can't cover everything, all of the things that happen. But what I can do
right.
is talk about the things that are most important to the people who are in my space. So that is, if I'm at a family reunion and we've got elders there and they are
Yes,
on Social Security and on Medicare and Medicaid, and I've got the young folks who are there, then
right,
my conversation has to be, look how much you love these people. Look how much we love these folks who brought us here.
right.
And now people are threatening to make their lives more difficult. what can we do to make that not happen? What can we do for your future to secure it? So I think that sometimes information can be overwhelming,
Right.
but we have to figure out listening to people, talking to them, what is it gonna move their heart to make them wanna do something different, which is to get involved in what's happening to our country right now,
Yeah.
other than gasoline and grocery
Yeah.
prices, because it is a bit more than that.
Well, hopefully everybody will wake up because that is not getting better. And with this crazy thing with, you check out for a couple days, keep, working or whatever. And when we saw how many servicemen are dead now in this war in Iran, and that they're actually trying to cover this up and not show, block out the satellites. So I think right now, in the sense of gaslighting and the sense of them not really backing off, right? So there isn't this sort of some people have moved on to other things, but there is a relentless attack on Black history and an erasure that is really real and going on. I think tomorrow um, the TPS actually stops for the Haitian community. That means people delivering packages, living their life, are now under the threat of being picked up, and that really makes me feel powerless. What is happening? These are thousands and thousands of people been living in this country. You
Yeah.
it just
Yes.
it's really unsettling to me. How are you feeling
So,
about it?
well, remember, when that happened, when that decision came from the Supreme
Right,
Court, that was one that really stuck with me, one that really, bothered me to my core, and it was because the Haitians are the color of me. They
right,
are they are my people. No matter where you are, they are my people, and, and I think when you feel connected to people because you have, these things in common, you wanna protect people, you wanna make sure that they're gonna be okay.
right,
But I think one of the things that separates us is that we care about all people, and we care about the ones who are being harmed the most.
right.
That is what we try to do, and I think that that's what gets used against us, is the fact that we have empathy and that we care for people. You do have to be able to do both things. You do have to demonstrate
Mhm.
that you have empathy, but you also have to demonstrate that you have strength, and
Right,
that's where these other tones come in that we talk about sometimes, about how do you talk, how do you deliver messages,
right,
how do you tell stories in ways that are appropriate, for the moment. So, yeah, the TPS thing was really hard and damaging,
right.
and our Black history is really important. Alpha talks about
Yes, I
rewriting
saw
and,
that. Mhm.
erasing history, and it is because most people are empathetic, and most people wanna understand, but they have been,
Right.
changing history. It didn't just start with this
No,
administration. They just were the ones who really understood how to use it. Are the ones who really understood how to use it to separate people, divide them, other people. They are the ones who decided that to really, I mean, you can go back years and look at books that talk about, how this, division has been taking place, and what happened is it was finally let out of the box, and it
yeah,
was finally okay to be racist out loud and in
right,
public. You didn't have to wear a sheet anymore. You could do it through
and
policies, you could do it through TV and media, Facebook, Twitter, X.
yes.
You were allowed to do it out loud, and then people became very, very comfortable with being who they were,
Well,
who
yeah,
they
and
are.
alpha, I was reading in the chat, and that's exactly what, definitely the follow-up point when we look at authoritarianism across history, that when leaders try to control people's memory, it's if you can control that, and then it helps you control the memory today. That if you can, it's like what you're able to accept. And when we were talking about your family in 1904, I brought up that the story in history about these massacres
Mhm.
in Black era against Black people when it was I think because you were talking about your family was born in a great I would guess it would be great-grandfather.
Beaufort, North Carolina.
Beaufort, North Carolina, and, Wilmington, there's that whole story that takes place where the white people are just indignant and not gonna accept that there's Black people elected. White and Black people were actually working together, elected in the
That's
town
right.
of Wilmington, very successful, and they were like, decided, "Nope, we're not gonna stand for that," and I think they killed about 90 people, chased the people out of town, and this happened all across the South where one thing that we talked about when you don't know history or not taught it, I wasn't taught and others people weren't taught that Black people were in, for instance, the Virginia legislature or the
Yeah.
Georgia legislature in such high numbers that at one point, this is where we see Jim Crow taking place. They're like, they're not going to, the power elite, the structure of the white racism, that whatever are not going to stand for it. So we're going to make sure that we start to change the laws, get people out of power, either by chasing them, lynching them, killing them, changing the law. And I think you said to me, that's what you feel like is happening today.
Yeah, it really is. One of the things that I think is really
Right.
important is the way that we understand history. I'm not a
Right.
historian, and
No,
you're
I
not a
know.
historian. And so Heather Cox Richardson and all those others, and they talk
Right.
about history, and they're helping all of us become better at it, right? And so that was one of the things that Alpha and I talked about as it related to socialism
Right.
is how do we understand it as
Hmm.
everyday people? We talked about focus groups, and they're always getting focus group. We're the focus group. We're the people who are ingesting this information and deciding how it feels to us and how we're able to get it out and talk to other people about it. And that is what's happening, I think,
Right.
with all of the things around racism, all of the things that are happening in terms of the voting rights. They're talking on TV about it, but
Right.
we're the people who are feeling it and trying to figure out how do we do something about it? How do we not become powerless? How do we tell more stories? And so that is where, if you want to talk about the piece that we're working on, Pause for 60,
Right.
you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, talk about it real quick. I want to say hi. Cindy Vidman's here. That's awesome to have her in the group, in the room today. Welcome, new. I love Cindy. Good to see her in the room, and you know that we're running for the midterm. So great to have her here.
Yes, yes, yes. We
We're
are
talking
running for
about
the
what we
midterm.
need to talk about, how we need to talk to family. This is great.
So I did have a chance to talk to my family about it,
Yes,
uh, and I talked to them individually. So here's what happened. Michelle Hornish, who will be at the Women's
Women's
Summit,
Summit.
and she will talk about the art of momentum. And so one of the things that she talked about is what gets you up out of bed in the morning and what do you worry about at night. And
Yes,
after the Supreme Court passed that decision that that money could just flow and flow and flow, I thought, oh my Lord, what are we going to do? Because they're going to just take over the news waves.
right,
And so I went to bed worried about that. But I got up in the morning excited to do something about it. And what we keep on hearing is about relational organizing and how important it is and how do you do it. But we've been trying to be more innovative about how we think about these things. So we're so busy with this attention deficit that we talk about how do we grab people's attention? And we know that families are the ones who can grab people's attention. So how do we grab it in a different
right,
way? How do we get them to slow down for just a minute and focus on something that is important to us, that
right,
is im that we're passionate about, but that is also done with love and compassion. And so pause for 460 is pausing for 60 seconds to send a message to your family without the algorithms, your public square. So you pull out your text messages and the 100 people that you have in your text,
right,
you send them a 60-second text message on whatever it is. And so from my family, it is just to get them to be more committed to doing more than voting. So my message to my family for 60 seconds was just, I know we don't talk about this a lot, but guys, let me tell you what's going on. Because I love our family so much and I want us to be
right,
okay. Here are things that are happening. So this year, I'm gonna need all of us to do more than just vote. And here are the things you can do. Here's how you contact me. I can contact you, but we want to take care of us because we love each other. And so it's those kinds of messages. And it's like a whole scripting of all different things that people can use for
right,
themselves to send authentic messages to their families that get to their families. No algorithms because it's your text messages, it's your email,
right.
maybe your Facebook group, but you are going one by one and you're getting them encouraged to do the same thing so that we can talk to our people, not the media, but we talk to our
You know
people
what
to
I
get them to
did
be more engaged.
the last election, I actually made right before the voting time, I made a little video. I made a little video using my Canva. I got a little fancy with it, not too much, but I put my little face in this little Lady Liberty, and I made this little, video about how important it was for them to vote and what all the work that I've been working on, and I want them to pay attention, and I did and then you save it in your phone, and then you could just text it out really simply, and I put it on social media too. And I think it was people loved receiving it, I'll just say. Even I sent it to people that actually knew their business and what they're gonna vote. But it was really that connection you wanna keep making with people. I was kinda smiling when you were talking because I thought to myself, "Here's an easy way to get your family's attention. Buy them a bag of lettuce. Buy them a bag of Taylor lettuce and just send it to them." Okay, because I'm gonna say to you right now, we have so many things we can do and say that are so funny without saying much. Here's a bag of lettuce, and they're gonna be like, "I don't wanna eat that, I can get diarrhea," and you're like, "Oh, could you?"
Yeah.
Like,
You
I'm
you
gonna send it to any Republican. Let's leave bags of lettuce on their porch door with the little label on it, you know, run, it could be the new thing about the Democrats keep us on the run. We can make so much fun or so much hay with it because truthfully, we talked about the media correspondent dinner and they roasted, the Robert Kennedy Jr. about what he did, that he provided the meat for the evening by hitting, I don't know, a bear with a car. But this is not funny. What he has done to the American, the idea that we have no experts checking our food, and Americans are getting sick because they have fired everybody but two people. This is the kind of very when we talk about regular people talking about regular things, you can cut right through a lot of stuff with this kind of talk. You can't even know what to eat at Taco Bell because he cut all this. Is this the way you want to live? You can't drink your water because they have fired the EPA person and they said they could put toxic chemicals in that. And you know what? Your son that just got like this kind of cancer treatment may not be available any longer. This is the reality that I think that's a lot easier to talk about than say, "Hey, democracy," or something. We always say democracy is an action, you know?
Well, let me just say this.
Right.
So the deal is that with
Yes.
Pause for 60, it doesn't have to be fancy. You just pick up your phone and you do the message. And frankly, that's a great message when you send to your family. You can say
Yes.
something like, "I want you to be safe, so I want to make sure you're not eating any lettuce. And so here's
Yeah.
why you're not. This is why it's so important to get out this year and vote." Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so it just should be those kinds of things. And what happens is
Simple.
it puts a bug, in
Yes.
their ear, and I'm just amazed with the family that I talked to this week about it. I showed him the video, the ones that I hadn't sent it to, and it was
Yes.
a really they are like, "I can do that. I'm gonna do that," because what I say to them is, "Listen, we're talking about people who couldn't look people in the eye. We're talking about
Right.
people who couldn't vote. We're talking about people who got, water hosed and people who had dogs sicked on them, people
Yes.
who were shot
Mhm.
and killed." I'm just telling you and asking you to do a video for 60 seconds to get people more encouraged to understand what's happening. I think we can do that.
Yeah. Well, Peggy said that they actually fired the entire response team for the lettuce virus. I know what I think, Peggy, they're just trying to kill us. I think too, normal things which people could relate to that is so simple to talk about the virus. It's on the news. It's actually like the vaccines and the measles outbreaks. When you're talking to, like I was on vacation, a lot of family members don't pay much attention as we, but they all knew about the lettuce. Okay. And it was the funniest thing to have family dinner because they're like, well, because we love salad. And now we're trying to figure out how to eat safely. And this is something that just stretches across. And I think it's kind of, brilliant. And we do have, for people that love to do and get involved, we have a campaign for the signs that Bridge to Blue is doing. And it is these signs. And one of them said, thank a Republican, your groceries are higher, right? Or something
Well,
like
it
that.
could say, "If you have the runs, thank a Republican." So
Well, that's what I mean. And, humor does cut across, but it is also these red signs are bold. And I'll send it out to everybody so they can look at the signs. There's about, I think, 10 different varieties available. Once I figure out how to, I know how to share the screen, but I don't want to do it on this
no,
particular
don't
thing.
don't do
I
it.
know I'm
Don't
not
do
going
it.
to do anything fancy, but it is so cool. The different signs. You can buy them now. There's a campaign. I'm going to put the link in there.
I think it's
But when you talk,
hypocrisy.
yeah, let me find that.
Hypocrisy.
Will you
So
chat? Because,
I
yeah,
was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say to you and say to everybody, so for our family reunion, which I'm gonna talk about for a long time because it was just so good. And people said to me that when we were talking about the history of the family, Sam did this nice book and it has the marriage certificate of Eli and Cora. and it has a bunch of our family in there. They cried because a lot of young people had a connection to understanding where we came from, and they weren't just abstract
Mm.
people. It was
Mhm. Uh-oh.
it does make a difference, and everybody knows their family and how to connect with their families. And I was just gonna say, I know lots of folks have family members who are Republican and part or MAGA or on the fence, and there is ways that you can talk to them too, with this 60-second video. Because I have heard people say to me, "I can't even get into a conversation before we go
Right.
off the rails." But if you get 60 seconds just to say the most important thing, that you love them and that you're worried, and you don't want them to get the runs and some other things that could happen. So maybe it's okay to change your mind this time and do something different. So I think all of that. But I wanted to also tell you that we did not have any lettuce this weekend. When the caterers did the food, we said no salad. And
See?
so no salad. And when I was driving back today from Norfolk, typically I would stop at Taco Bell because it's my favorite and I just get hard tacos, but I know that they're full of lettuce. And so no Taco Bell for me.
Well,
Just
in my family, we talked about Taco Bell too, but so what I'm saying to everybody in the room, I know it sounds crazy. It's the simple things that we can talk to people about, and that kind of stuff just cuts through the noise. It's not about. I think what we see, like the data centers, we're talking about data centers a lot because across the nation, it is actually cuts across parties. I had a Warren committee leader say to me from Warren County, Virginia. She said to me, I could tell you right now, people out in this rural area will vote for a Democrat if they are against a data center. And there are some things that people right now are going to cut across and vote because it impacts them. People are just selfish naturally. They look out for themselves. So, whatever it takes to get them to come and understand what's happening, data centers is one of them. Transmission lines going right through your yard or through your school. People are angry. And if you have, it doesn't matter if you have a D by your name, if you are against data centers, they will vote for you. I think this is really important for us to realize this. And it's the same with your health, your wealth. And then look, and you get down to people that really do care that people are being rounded up and disappeared. And what's really scary, we've had the murders again of people. We had the young man that went on. I don't think his death has even been solved yet. But these white boys took him out on a boat on an
yeah,
island. He has not. What is going to happen there? I mean, all eyes are on certain things, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like we have attention deficit. We just don't. We can't pay attention very long. So it's frustrating.
yeah.
Maybe just the lettuce is it. That's it.
So the lettuce is it because we do have people's attention, and
Yes.
and so I do think I really do think that in this election there are two things that are particularly important. One is that your base has to come out. So it is
Yes.
listening to your base. It's listening to what they say, and it's also saying, you know what, you might be. Because some people will say this to you, you guys never come until you want to vote. And what I say is that you're probably right, but I do this for free. I
Right.
do this because I know how hard it is to get information, so I'm here just to make sure that you have what you need so that when you do make your decision, you're making it based on, accurate information. I do say that when people say that to me because I think it's important for them to know that. I mean,
Right.
it might be paid canvassers that are out there, but when I'm out there, I'm not getting paid. And so when they say that to me, I say, "Oh, no, no, no. I do this for free because I know how important it is for you to have information, and I want you to have the right information." And so that's how I start my conversation with them. But I
Right.
do think it's important for your base, but I also think it's important that for folks who are sitting on the fence, who really just care about the country, who are not just drinking the MAGA Kool-Aid, but who believe in right and wrong and who are not selfish and sometimes someone just has to tip them over because I always say that people lose their conscience in
Right.
crowds. And so that's why,
Right.
again, these conversations, this pause for 60, here I go again, is important because it's not a crowd. It's just
Right.
you and your family. It's just you and your friends. It's just you for 60 seconds, uninterrupted, talking from your heart about why you do what you do and why they can do something different.
No, and I'd like to end on, we have just a minute, but call attention is something that both caught our attention. One, we do have the Women's Summit August 21st to 23rd coming up in Tyson's, and we're trying to get Ben Wickler's attention. We had him on, we did the fund banks for the Yes campaign, and he came in on that Friday right before the election, and it was great to talk to him. We both felt he was such a warm, real, down to earth person. And he was one of our favorites when they were going to elect a new DNC chair. I wanted, oh, you look at your book. I wanted Ben. This is the plan. Two
Yeah,
things. Yeah, Leah Greenberg's going to be at the summit, and she has, I love her, What's the Plan? And so I love Ben's book because it is like, this is the plan. So you have the book. And I one thing I want to say is what it reminded me when we really looked at the big all the high points he talked about. We're already doing most of them. And Network Nova, I just love what they said, what Ben has said that's good to do. Connect people, collaborate across organizations. That's just empower people to use their political power, build durable grassroots infrastructure, 3 steps, and treat every election as part of a longer fight for power. And I mean, I'm thinking we're doing pretty darn good for regular folk.
that's right. I told you we're the focus group. So this is the people should want to hear what we're talking about. Our folks that we talk to every single week, they're the ones who are feeling this and going out on the ground in the
Yes.
grass. They're talking to people to understand how we feel, how we feel. And sometimes we're able to articulate it better than what the folks who we're talking to might be able to say it. But we can hear what they're feeling because most of the time I'm feeling it too. And
Yes.
so and then the ones who are not, it is because they just have no idea, and all you have to do is walk in someone's shoes one day. All you have to do is walk in their shoes, not seeing the news, working all day, coming home to kids, all of that. They have no idea what's going on. And if they
Yes.
did, if they could feel and see some of the things, especially the things that are happening to children, I gotta
Right.
believe that there would be way more support if people actually like I say, Republicans talk to folks every single day. Every single day, every algorithm, every Fox, every Newsmax, every
Out
way
there.
they talk to them.
Mhm.
They're influencers every single day. And we have to get better at talking to folks every single day. And one more plug for Pause for 60
Get it?
is that it's an opportunity for us to talk to our people so that they understand what's happening.
Yeah, and I'll say that when we were talking about with Ben and, like, I really like that he's come out with this and because it's a long-term plan, and a lot of it we're already building, and it is about organizing others. It's just not about our superpower is voting, and let's just say, and I know I wanna wrap up in a couple minutes here, but the idea that I think we do have a lot of people's attention. I think people will vote. I think that's why they're working so hard to try to stop the vote. They're trying to find out different ways, sending, I mean, they're sending observers in August 4th in Virginia. A lot of people are paying attention. We can do a lot about voter protection. So I think the one thing is building that big we that we can build
Mhm.
together, talking to people and really listening to them. And I think these conversations like lettuce is just a good open it, let us talk to you. Don't run away.
Okay, I
Because they
love that.
are really
Okay.
funny, meaning that we really could it's really a great simple opener, but to get to the next step is really talk about what's important and the things that's really going on because it is true. They really look to me, the only thing they're doing is wanting to make us sick and die quicker. And it sounds crazy, but it isn't. And, we got to get power and make sure that we are ready to use it. That's why I like Ben Wickler's plan because he really says, okay, this is what we need to do. There's an election every day, every Tuesday, and let's look across the whole map. So there's a lot of stuff that we really could do, and not just these kind of one offs or big races, but really try to look at the whole map as we are. As we are moving forward to sort of make sure on the local level we're really paying attention.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to say anything about my 60 Senate seats. You know how I feel about that. We should
Yeah.
always be going after 60 seats.
Oh,
Always, always,
yes.
always.
Always, always, always. All right. So I want to say the wrap up. I'm glad people came tonight. Oh, Teresa's asking, what is pause 460?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Let's do it.
So I'll tell you really quickly. So Pause for 60 is a project that I am working on and it will be made public. And I'm hoping to introduce it along with CJ Krim, who's a documentarian. And she's writing something on You Can Change Your Mind. And the Pause for 60 will be part of that. And all it simply is talking to your public square, texting your friends, your neighbors, your church members, whoever is in your public square. And all you're doing is asking them to pause for 60 seconds so that you can actually share a message with them about voting and about very specific issues. It could be someone in your family who is on the fence in their MAGA. It could
Mhm.
be someone who you need to encourage to vote. There's like, it could be about the amendments in Virginia. It is all of these different topics that you choose the topic based on your family dynamics. And then you do a 60-second video that we will show people how to do with your phone, and you text it to your family. And it's a way for us to start building our political power, our messaging, and talking to our people to do the best we can to fight against all of the information overload that will be happening by the Republicans come, as we move towards November. So it's pause for 60 seconds.
Yeah, pause. Yeah, and it's kinda I love the idea because it's almost like that feeling, we're always going so fast or thinking it has to be this big, big, big thing, and I think it's the little things that matter, these little interactions we can have, and it makes it accessible, and, you're right, when I look at the media coverage and the media correspondence dinner, some of this is disappointing because they really want a conversation that's the horse race, that's the Democrats are socialists, like you and Alpha talked about, or we're communists. Communism is the biggest threat. You're like, what the hell? Does anybody even know a communist right now? It just kind of makes you funny laugh, but it doesn't because this is what they talk about constantly, and the media goes along with it. And then I guess in the New Yorker, they just did an article about just today at the New York Times on the breakdown of the Democratic Party, the behind the scenes with Ken Martin and the paranoia and all this shit. This is what they want to talk about right now. Not people disappeared, not the Haitians losing this, but let's talk about Ken Martin and what's happening and behind the scenes with the breakdown of the Democrats. It's like, you know,
So let me say this, and this will be a plug for our Women's Summit, which is the master classes that we're doing.
yes,
And so one of the master classes, Never Let a Crisis Go to Waste, which is really the theme of that. And that is when all of these things that are happening, what can we as grassroots do? So we have our public square too. So as all of this craziness is happening at the top, what
right,
is it that we get to control? So Never Let a Crisis Go to Waste is our opportunity to work through how to do that. The other one
right.
is the art of momentum, which is little things that go big. And maybe some of these things we're talking about, like pause for 460 and some of the other ideas that we have, is an opportunity for something very small to get very large if we actually execute on it. But
Yeah.
but that's what it's about. And then the last one is the unexpected, the art of the unexpected. And that is, how do we do things or think about them or plan things that are unexpected, what people wouldn't anticipate us doing? What
Right.
do we do to get out ahead? And I think that we as grassroots have an opportunity to really deliver. Like, we always want to put our hopes in the people who we elect, right?
Mm,
We put our hopes there. And I think at the end of the day, people still keep telling us it's going to be we the people. No one's coming to save us. No one's coming to save us.
yep.
We don't need them to save us. What we need is for us to work together. So that means listening to people, listening to the grassroots, listening to people that you don't normally listen to, because we got ideas, because we're sitting down here and we got lots of ideas about what's going on. And so I think I think that's what is most important in terms of how we decide to use our leverage, our strength, our power. Because really, it's this little tiny thing, that irritation that really makes things work, which is sort of like the pearl, right?
Yeah,
So that's
I
what we
love
have to do.
that. And I'll just say that the one thing, the takeaway too, that is we do not need everyone to do everything because it can be overwhelming, right? We need everyone to do something and to do it consistently with other people. And that's the key. And that's why I'll say it again when I talk about authoritarianism exists, it really thrives in isolation. So if you are spending too much time alone, get out, join something, be a member of something. Um, Go even to a movie with friends. The point is that convening and people power and getting together is really one way of just constantly pushing back against what these people are trying to drive at us. A couple ideas I'll say and end with this one we can do something. Take a sign down the Smithsonian and stand next to the sign the government put there with your own sign. And I think that kind of individual protest, you could be very powerful with that. Very simple. Stand there next to that sign and say, history does matter. and even ask me questions about history. But it really is impactful. One, invite all your Republican friends to a salad bar and ask them to eat. I'll end on that because I love. I have a funny way of looking at stuff, but I'm like, the unexpected would be to just drop bugs of lettuce off on voting day and see what happens. But I'm thinking, think outside the box, make people think, challenge them. It's good. It's good. It's exciting. So thank you, friend. It's good to see you. And this Friday, we're back on the power lunch and we have the get out the vote pack on. And that's going to be really interesting. We're going to talk to Laura Mayberry, the executive director there, and Renee Martin. I think he's the political director. We have two wonderful chairs, Chris Nelson and Jessica Reynolds from Warren County, out in. They're going to talk about the Rural Caucus and the DPVA. I love to talk to people in different parts of the state about what's going on in their community, what the Rural Caucus does, how hard it is to run in these areas, and why it's important that we really work together and we really learn from each other. Very excited to get back into the power lunch and then keep working on the summit and get through the summer and get to these damn midterms and
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
happens. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thanks everybody for coming.
thanks
And I
everybody
get
for
to
coming.
say thank you to Alpha again because it was a really great conversation on socialism. So if you
I
guys haven't seen
agree.
it, check it out. It's really great. So
Well,
Alpha,
we're
thank
gonna
you again.
keep collaborating with Alpha. I think that's really, really great. So, um, okay, good. She'll send us the clip to us. Okay, Peggy. All right, everybody, have a good night. Good night. See you for
Good
now,
night, everybody.
friend. Bye
Good
bye.
night.